This book has been adapted into 2 TV series, a movie by this guy named Alfred Hitchcock, who's that dude, and now a movie starring Lily James and Armie Hammer on Netflix. But is it worth your time? Well... What's going on, you guys? James here with another real review, and today I'm diving right into Rebecca on Netflix, starring Lily James and Armie Hammer, directed by Ben Wheatley, who's actually directing the Tomb Raider sequel with Alicia Vikander. Thought that was a cool little fact. Now, just something you should note, this is a retelling or adaptation, I should say, of the 1938 novel of the same name. This is not a remake of the Alfred Hitchcock movie. But if you're unfamiliar with what Rebecca's all about, let me get into this spoiler-free summary, and of course this is a spoiler-free review. Rebecca is about a young woman longing for love and finds it with a rich man named Maxim, whom she marries and moves in with very quickly, only to find out his last marriage with his now dead wife Rebecca is hanging over their newfound relationship. Alrighty guys, so before I get into what I liked about this and what I really didn't like about Rebecca, if it's your first time here at the channel, welcome to Real James, where I talk about movies and TV, and yes, I review them early, so if you want to see that and much more, go ahead and hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, and tap on that bell so you stay notified with anything new. I just dropped my season 3 finale reaction to The Legend of Korra, and I also have some more reviews coming. A Borat sequel I should be talking about on Wednesday. Super excited for that one, guys. If you haven't already done it, like this video, comment down below, and get loud in the comments. Let me know, guys. I want to know, are you getting into this film this week, or are you going to avoid this movie? And if you've seen the originals, did you like those as well? Okay, so let's get into Rebecca on Netflix. There are some things that I liked about this film, and right away, man, this movie is visually appealing. It looks so pretty. This movie has some really wonderful cinematography, and there's some really good lighting too. I mean, there are moments where the light is literally blinding me in the eyes. Like, for some reason, all of our characters look very glowy, and I guess that's the appeal in that first act, where everything seems like sunshines and rainbows except for Lily James's character. But I mean, the movie is doing a good job at staying consistent in the visuals department, and the costume designs are also excellent here. Man, there's this vintage feel that the movie does a good job at expressing from start to finish. So guys, there's nothing wrong with how the movie looks. Now, the movie does have a very interesting premise, of course, because the novel is so darn good from what I've heard from people. I haven't read it myself, but I do think that the movie, it really benefited from the novel having a great foundation. The problem is here, the movie itself, when you kind of get into it, right, when you're 30-40 minutes into the movie, you start to realize that, oh boy, this movie is not interesting at all. And that's the problem with Rebecca. It's either okay or just terribly boring. I should not be bored with a movie that sounds just like this. None of the characters are very compelling here, and there's this build up to a very big moment in that third act, and it just falls flat on its face. And usually I'm a fan of movies that are slower burns, you know, that will take a little bit of time to build up to the climax. The problem here is that the movie drags, and unfortunately the acting isn't very strong either. So where the script is weak, the actors are almost weaker. And I love Lily James. I think that Armie Hammer can act for the most part, but here in this movie, guys, I don't know, both of them turned in probably one of their weakest performances of their career. They felt unengaged with everything, and honestly, I was definitely feeling out of it in the middle, and I figured, okay, maybe this is where Armie Hammer and Lily James just kind of bring the movie up, but it felt like they weren't really into it. They weren't buying the script, and if they're not buying the script, I'm not either. And it's a shame, because I do feel like maybe this script wasted their talents. However, there is one actor that I will say stood out from the rest, and that's Kristen Scott Thomas, who plays Mrs. Danvers. She's mysterious. She's basically the, I don't know, the overseer of the estate in some sense. And there is this cool little tie that they have with her at the end with our main cast, and I like that, but the problem is I came so late that it didn't really save the film. The direction here by Ben Wheatley was also surprisingly uneven. The movie was ripe for being a good thriller, a mystery tale, romance, lots of drama, but unfortunately all of those tones weren't really brought to this film in an effective manner. It just felt like they were thrown on the screen, and none of it was really done well. I wrote it down here. Unfortunately, it amounted to a big bowl of nothing. And honestly, by the time the end credits ran, I thought, okay, did this movie make me feel anything? Anger? Not really. Intrigue? No. Sadness? Not at all. So what gives? And honestly, the answer to that question is the movie doesn't do a good job at reeling you in and keeping you there. Unfortunately, it kind of brings you in little by little with some breadcrumbs in the beginning of the film and then just throws you off by the wayside, and then the movie just becomes very meh. And of course, I have to ask myself, why did they use Armie Hammer and Lily James in yet another film adaptation of this novel? Maybe we could have used them in something else? So overall, you guys, Rebecca is way more style over substance. And the thing is, style runs out pretty quickly in this movie, and instead we're stuck with this long, drawn-out thriller that doesn't really recognize it's a thriller sometimes, and really resorts to some cheap thrills and a score that's super loud, for example, trying to create an uneasy atmosphere. And it just doesn't. By the third act, I genuinely struggled to get through this movie. And not because it was a tough watch, it was just, well, boring. And I know that our lead actors aren't bad. They're good to great in everything I've seen them in. But here, man, not only do they not sell the story well, but the script is either really just, again, boring, or maybe they just became bored with it. I wish I could tell you that Rebecca is a memorable movie. It's mysterious for all the right reasons. Unfortunately, it's going to be forgotten by the end of this year. And maybe it's a movie that our leads are going to want to forget about too. So there you have it, you guys. That's my real review of Rebecca, a movie that I wish I could recommend to you, but I can't. Now, I want to know what you guys have to say about this film, so go ahead and get loud in the comments. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? And hey, did it live up to that classic Alfred Hitchcock film? And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, and help us get to 3,000 subscribers. 3 is the number of completion. It's a beautiful thing. We're almost there, and it's all because of you guys. Alrighty, well, I'm going to go watch Borat. Because, oh no, not the first one, the sequel. Alrighty, y'all. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you at the next screening.